Is blindness a barrier? No.
Is deafness a barrier? No.
Are mobility, learning, cognitive disabilities, speech impairments and others, or even a combination of them, barriers? No way. Lack of accessibility is.
Welcome to Web Accessibility for All.
Follow the blind. This journey starts now.
I am watching a live stream in YouTube. The speaker is explaining something interesting. I am focused and following along with NVDA. Everything is fine. And then the chat wakes up.
Madison.Lewis.97, well done guys, let's go for it. Henry at 741, fire fire fire. Sergeant Pepper athletes, wow. Madison.Lewis.97, LOL.
No pause, no breath. My screen reader doesn't care about that. It just reports every new message because technically that's what it was told to do. The live region fires. The accessibility tree updates. Speech queues up. Please stop. Please stop. I'm not following the stream anymore. I'm managing noise. More laughter, emojis, reactions. It's not conversation anymore. It's auditory artillery. Hey my friend, welcome back to Web Accessibility for All. I'm Ariel and today we are starting a short 2-episode mini-series about chat interfaces. Something most of us use every single day. Chat is everywhere. In live streams, in workplace tools, inside meeting platforms. It's how we interact, AI systems as well. But when you look at chat through the lens of accessibility, things get complicated very quickly.
Chat interfaces, unpacking the problem.
You know what? 10 years ago, when I became blind, I already felt overwhelmed by fast-moving chats. Before it was visual chaos, but today is serialized chaos. And that difference changes everything.
The core problem.
Many modern platforms try to scope announcements carefully. Some only announce new messages, others travel updates. But even with careful implementation, the fundamental mismatch remains. Think of a chat interface as a continuous stream where assistive announcements follow one after another. The challenge is that when updates happen faster than a person can actually process them, does really a person actually process them? The issue is not that the chat is broken. The issue is that real-time messaging pushes the limits of how assistive technologies were designed to handle change. As usability expert Jacob Nielsen famously stated,
"The computer should not make the user think."
the problem is not new. What's new is scale.
Case studies, different flavors of the same tension.
The core accessibility issues are the same across the board. So let's see how this actually plays out.
Workplace chat platforms.
In platforms like Slack or Microsoft Teams, you've got multiple channels, all updating at the same time, and even those little reactions and presence indicators changing constantly right in front of you. The system is optimized for visual scanning across columns and panes. The whole experience can be a lot to manage.
Meeting chat.
Here we are dealing with a totally different kind of pressure. so messages fly by while the live discussion is happening. This means important stuff like shared links or key decisions can scroll right off the screen before you know it. You know, the real accessibility challenge here isn't just about the sheer volume of messages coming in. It's actually about simultaneity, the fact that everything is happening all at once. Users are listening to audio, navigating controls, monitoring chats. For anyone using assistive technology, this really turns into a case of multi-layered processing. When you are in a real-time meeting, the chat ends up amplifying that constant tension between trying to keep up with the pace and actually maintaining control over the information coming at you.
AI streaming interfaces.
Then we have conversational AI platforms like ChatGPT or Gemini, which really bring a whole new flavor to the mix. Instead of the usual multi-user chat, we're actually looking at a few different dynamics. Token by token streaming responses, content that grows dynamically, regeneration options, inline editing. The friction here is different. Partial message announcements, re-rendered blocks during streaming, focus ambiguity after regeneration. While the system might feel like a natural conversation, structurally is actually behaving more like a document that's updating in real time.
High-volume community spaces.
When you get into large public communities, like big forums or support channels, everything just gets amplified. You're suddenly dealing with hundreds of participants and a constant stream of emoji reactions, not to mention all the side conversations happening at the same time. The real challenge here is all about noise filtering. When important information is constantly competing with general chatter, accessibility and usability problems quickly turn into discoverability problems.
Who is affected?
You see, most chat systems are built on some pretty big assumptions. They assume everyone has high processing speeds and has perfect precision motor control. But when you design based on those assumptions, we are actually excluding a lot of people.
Screen reader users.
One of the biggest hurdles is what we call live region overload. The moment the chat picks up speed, the user just gets hit with a constant wall of sound. Messages have to serialize into a single linear audio stream. Then there's the verbosity of it all. Before you even hear the message content, you're hearing the metadata, the sender's name, the role, the timestamp, and every single reaction. So a simple 3-word message can easily turn into a 10 seconds announcement. On top of that, there's the constant navigational friction. Imagine trying to follow a conversation while a voice is repeating.
Press enter for message actions.
Or
Reply in thread.
after every single line.
Elderly users.
As we get older, our cognitive dynamics change. We are talking about things like slower processing speed and a reduced capacity for working memory. Not to mention how much faster fatigue can set in when there's a lot of motion and activity on the screen. This becomes especially difficult because rapid messages demand continuous decoding. You're constantly forced to ask,
Who is speaking?
Is this relevant to me?
Is this sarcasm?
Is this really urgent?
Users with cognitive disabilities.
When we are talking about users with ADHD, dyslexia, or other processing and executive function challenges, those design assumptions we mentioned start to compound. It's like a stacking effect. One of the most disruptive elements is constant loss of context. Thread nesting often fractures conversational continuity, and as reply chains detach from the main timeline, it becomes incredibly difficult to follow a single train of thought. It's almost as if the system's own clock starts to override the user's personal clock, forcing everyone to keep up with the machine pace rather than their own.
Users with motor impairments.
When we look at the actual physical interaction, we see a lot of barriers. Small targets, tiny reaction icons, ellipsis menus, and controls that only appear when you have hovered them, which actually adds a whole other layer of difficulty. On top of that, there are hard-to-reach controls. The close chat button is often tucked away in the far top corner, far from where you actually are interacting. When a user relies on alternative input like switch controls, eye tracking, or voice commands, the interface actually becomes unstable. The faster the system moves, the harder it becomes to maintain any kind of precision.
Why this is hard to solve.
It's easy to critique chat velocity from the outside, but it's much harder to actually redesign it without breaking the very things that make it valuable in the first place.
Platforms already tried.
It's important to recognize that major platforms aren't just ignoring these issues. We've already started seeing some real attempts to mitigate these challenges. Slow mode, mention-only notifications, threading, mute conversation, granular notification controls, compact view modes. These features help, but they are defensive layers. On a real-time core, they don't change the underlying assumption that that conversation is a live stream you must keep up with. Even threading adds complexity by fragmenting context, requiring more navigation steps.
The structural incentive problem.
Chat platforms optimize for engagement, immediacy, responsiveness, social presence. But accessibility often requires temporal buffer, cognitive batching, interaction simplification. There's no trivial fix because the system is behaving like designed. The real question isn't,
Why haven't they solved this?
it's,
What are we willing to trade to make it more inclusive?
so that's where we'll pause for today. In the next episode, we're going to look at the other side of the equation. What could we actually do about it? I'll see you there. Goodbye.
Thanks for joining us today. Subscribe for a new challenge next week. And don't be shy. Leave us a review or ask your accessibility questions online. See you next week for another episode of Web Accessibility for All.